Hi, so today I'm going to show you how I took an era replacement cylinder, which as you can see has got forced in stops at the top of each of the holes retaining the pins, and turned it into a practice lock. And this practice lock allows me to remove each pin, so I can, if I get stuck, I can remove all the pins, put in one or other, repin it how I feel really. And I started off not being able to pick this lock at all, but by slowly replacing the pins I managed to get the feel for it, and I just want to show how I did that. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove this brass retaining ring. This ring also retains the tab that goes onto the body of the night latch. So just using a pair of wire cutters to try and lever this open gently, which is easier when you're not sat behind a camera. Okay, so now I should be able to hopefully pull that off. And I can now also remove the tab using the hooks. So now I need to disassemble the lock, remove the pins and store them safely. For this I need to reinsert the key, and I'm just going to turn it slightly to one side. This is roughly 1/2 inch diameter, and I'm going to use this 12.5mm piece of plastic to push the cylinder out and hopefully retain the upper pins in their places. So now we have these pins. I haven't got any pin pliers. I'm going to perhaps modify these so that they'll grab pins more readily. This tray I'm using is initially used for holding 1/8 inch milling bits or engraving bits. I'm just going to drop, I hope I'm going to drop these pins into the tray. So if I give it a tap, it'll come. Okay, they're too fat as it is, so never find tweezers when you want them. There we go. It doesn't really matter what order they are, because with the key in there we can just put the pins in until they're all level with the perimeter. On here we have, as I pull this stick out, we're going to get each of the pins popping out. So
first one, and it's spring. Okay, so this will come down to my hand hopefully.
okay, so I haven't measured these pins, but I'm guessing they're going to be the same sort of size as the others, which is just under 1/8 inch. Try with hands instead. So yeah, it's just under 3mm. That's 2.8 or so millimeters, and it's 0.113 inches. So if I use a 3mm drill bit, I should be able to open this up to remove these plugs, and I'll then, for the first short part of it, I'm going to drill it out to 3.5mm so that I can tap it for 4mm grub screws, and that's the next part. Okay, so I have the body of the lock held in a vice. It's not the best vice for this purpose. It's got hardened jaws that have a very rough finish, so it's going to be marking the case too much, but so this hand drill, I'm trying not to knock my head on the camera, and I'm just drilling with a 3mm bit to open up the top ideally. So the actual insert, everything's brass on this, and even though it's chrome plated, so it's very easy to drill, maybe too easy to drill. So I've actually got it on a screwdriver setting, which is why it makes a rattle. So at the very top, I'm just going to widen it out to 3.5mm, or thereabouts. Not too deep, I hope. And then tap it. So I'll be back in a second with the tap. I'm very slowly going to use a machine tap to start a bit of a thread. So that's using a spiral machine tap, but would probably be better to do it more perfectly using a starting taper tap followed by a plug tap or bottoming tap to limit the depth of tapping to the right amount. As it is, the idea is just to be able to get some screws in there, hold the springs and everything in position, and allow us to quickly swap them out. So back to fitting it together. Okay, so now we have the drilled out and tapped Bible. You can see there's quite a bit of dust in there still. Should really remove that, I guess. It's important, I guess, to drill all the way down. Some of the plugs, which I didn't point out before, didn't go all the way through, so I had to drill all the way to the bottom. Let's see if you can make the threading out there. The threads don't go very far down, so there's plenty of space for the springs and the pins to sit in. So the next step is to put the pins back into this core or plug. I think I'm doing it in the right order. We'll soon find out if they don't settle flat.
So down. Go.
Yeah, so I really should either make or buy some pin pliers. It's very hard to control these things otherwise. Luckily we won't be needing them to put the top pins back in, because we can just drop them straight down the holes before putting the screws back in. So that bit's ready. We can put it in. I'm going to put this clip back on, but in the process of removing it, I'm not going to bother with the tailpiece for actuating the lock. In the process of removing this, it probably got too bent to reuse, but I also need to put it in the other way around. Okay, so if I put it in that way, then it fits. Okay. Might be kind of usable. I might just ping straight back off, but I'll tighten that up in the vise or with a pair of pliers. If only I had some better pliers with me. Well, we've got it clicked into place, and then this will tighten in the vise. Let me just do that.
So these clips aren't spring material, they're pretty malleable. So they get permanently deformed when you spring them out, or doesn't it?
Okay, so that does seem to move a bit. And then we just put the pins back in the top. And we should be good to go once we put the screws in. Oh jeez. You can see why the channel's called two left thumbs, most likely. Not too much manual skill or dexterity, and left-handed in every way. Okay, so also I'm using M4 screws. That's because the nearest size fit, I guess it might be number 6 in the States. 632 or something like that may do the same sort of job. Because also in the UK a 3.5 would work, but I happen to have M4 grub screws lying around. So yeah, I hit upon this method, and it looks like it's commonly used. I'm not claiming any originality, but I came across this because I just couldn't really get into that era that I've already modified, and just decided to take it apart, see what was in it, and then I tried putting it together the proper way by putting pins through the Bible without drilling through. I just couldn't keep them in there because I don't have the right pliers and I don't have the patience, I guess. And there is a benefit to doing it this way in that you can just pop out any pin or multiple pins that you want to make sure it's all doable eventually. So I'm just going to back these pins off a little bit. If they're in too far, then it compresses the spring too much and the key won't come out. Oops, it did come out. So yeah, working lock. It's still twisting, and we can just pop the pins out at our leisure. Okay, that's all I've got to say really. Thanks very much. Bye bye.